everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Beach Court Podcast. I'm Eric Ridgway. I'm joined here by Parker Greenwald and Max Corcoran. Boots are on the ground back in the United States, unfortunately for some of us. Parker, how you feeling?
I just really enjoyed Japan. It was kind of just everything you could ever dream of and more. So unfortunate to be back in the cheeseburger land.
You almost didn't get home,
Unfortunate.
right?
I almost did. I actually missed my flight and they just happened to have another one that was going to my exact destination for my layover. So I lucked out there
Or
or
did you?
unlocked out.
Yeah, Maddox, how you feeling being home, man?
It's just getting adjusted to being back. Right, already going to tournaments and then
Mm-hmm.
the ramen just doesn't taste the same here, but it's good to be back stateside and kind of, get back into routine and get rolling with everything though. I do miss the fantastic times Japan was.
Same. Well, we got a packed agenda today. We got some talk about Pokemon news came out of last week, so we got some of the IC dates for the international championships, some big changes to the prize support pool. So we'll talk about that and kind of what our thoughts on those. We have a really interesting interview today with a local legend here. I'll say legend because he's a spicy deck builder. So I'll introduce him in a little bit, and we'll get to that talking about Pokemon 151. The set's right around the corner. It drops on 9/22, September 22nd, and should be legal for Peoria regionals. So that'll be interesting. We'll talk about that, and then we'll get into our youngster versus gym leader segment and wrap it up. But without being said, Maddox, you want to kick us off with the prize support changes that happened?
Of course, and real quick, everyone, make sure you do stay tuned for the interview. Even though Eric called it interesting twice, it's actually good. It's a good interview. It's good. It's fun to talk about. The 151 cards look sweet, but first off, I mean, a lot of big news around the prize pool being upgraded. I mean, so anyone who went to events last year, there's actually been a kicker for payouts to events. The kicker was previously 200 or more players. Anyone who's been to a regional in the past year knows that the regionals have been far, far exceeding that, right? Orlando was 1,600. Right, like all these, right? Parker knows from, like making day two in Orlando, but I mean, just massive regionals, right? The smallest regionals are hitting 900 people. So we finally saw that come through with Pokemon releasing the new prize amounts, and now we're seeing very significant prize increases. Winning a regional now wins you $10,000 in addition to that free invite to Worlds. And even top 32, you're winning $1,000 for placing in the top 32 of people there. So
Wild.
really, really remarkable increases. And as someone who got top 32 in Fresno, I wish it was a few months later to get that extra 750 in my pocket.
So Maddox, what is 33rd gonna get me?
So 33rd is going to be the same as it was previously. So same top 64 prizes, is just half a booster box.
So it goes from a grand to half a booster box.
Well, I think the other way to look at it is now you're getting a grand. It used to be $250 to have a booster box. Now you're actually getting a grand. So, Parker, I'm curious of your thoughts. I mean, back when you were playing, right, when these kickers, were, mattered a little more as they're smaller regionals. I mean, how do you feel now, just with how big things have gotten and how much money is on the line nowadays?
And yeah, it's massive. It's kind of beyond my comprehension. You can get 10 grand for winning a regional now, which is what the ICs used to be.
I know.
Yeah.
Which honestly is super exciting for people of all levels. I do really wish that they did something for top 64 or day two, because like you hear all the time people are like, oh, I had to like book another room at this hotel because I made day two, or like in the rare occasion like, oh, I missed my flight or whatever. But just any increase in pricing is good.
Yeah.
My boss who made money, playing GPs and stuff for Magic, he said, I mean, he was somewhat impressed, but he said, it's just a step in the right direction with how much they charge and all that. Like he said, like for the Magic equivalent, you can make like 35 grand for winning a GP, that kind of stuff. So like, but definitely like a positive thing for really everybody.
It's just a really steep drop off. Like that bubble, like there's gonna be situations when someone has like a win in the top eight and they lose that round and then they just barely bubble into top 32. And
Yeah.
It's gonna feel bad like when someone does fight because these regionals are getting so massive. When
Mhm.
someone finally has that top 8 win in and then bubbles out of top 32 and gets nothing, like it's gonna be rough because I can't imagine finishing 33rd, because my opponents, their resistance wasn't good on day 2. And it's like, it's not something that you can control. And honestly, like day 2 should mean more. It just doesn't mean anything. Like you can't win the tournament if you don't make day 2. That's true. But like, do you ID at 6-2 nowadays with this money bubble at 33rd?
I think that just kind of varies on player to player, confidence level, all that stuff. I'm gonna be honest. If I'm 6'2" somehow in Pittsburgh, I'm probably gonna ask for the ID, but I won't be surprised if my opponent doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough.
Yeah, I mean it's a very tight line, and it kind of reminds me of Worlds, right? You go through this grind of day 1
Right.
just to make it to day 2, and right, making day 2 is a big achievement, just like here at a regional. But at the end of the day, if you don't get top 32, you're pretty much walking away with the same thing as everyone else. So really, especially for these regionals, it says, okay, day 2 is now just that. I mean, obviously it's a requirement, but it's indication. Okay, you made it to kind of the real tight competition, and now that's where the real money's on the line. So.
Yeah. I just
I
wish
mean,
they'd
just
give
for
like 10 more points to someone, like something for making day 2. There's just no meaning to it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
got like so many people that are just not making day 2 and getting the same amount of points as people are playing 6 more rounds of Pokemon the next day.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think those cases are fewer and farther between, like just as the numbers increase, right? If there's about 1,200 people at a regional, then day 2 is going to be about 120 people. So all those people will be getting top 128 points. And it's kind of same thing with NAIC, right? When they're at that 2,400 number, that number is getting about top 256 points.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gonna be a tough line. But at the same time, there are those pieces in there. It's just tough. We've talked about this before, but when you have to say like there's kind of an arbitrary change of who is getting points and who is not getting points, maybe right, it's 80 people here and then 140 people here. It like that moving scale is a little more difficult
Mhm.
than just a steadfast rule like they've chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got IC dates announced now. There's one big date missing. Australia's not on the books. They got the axe. Why do you think that is?
Could be for any number of reasons. I know they put out a small statement about it. I forgot exactly what it said, but
Yeah,
it had
this
something like, I see there's a gap in this, and this is where usually OCIC would be, but reasons.
yeah, the statement was effectively the point that this was meant to capture the large rating regions at the time, and really that the other regions have basically kind of surpassed the growth of the Oceania region. So they've, removed that as a location for their international championship. So,
Yeah.
and this makes it a little bit tighter on the points. I know there's, people that, try to go to all the international championships to maximize those chances of points. And there's other people that hadn't been to all of them yet, but said, hey, it'd really nice to have an excuse to go to Australia type of thing.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. I was like, Australia sounds like a lot of fun. I was looking forward to trying to go to one. And and now the running joke is like Perth is the new OCIC. So I know you let off with like the kicker was 200 people to get, money and those prizes. Is it not that anymore? So just any
yeah, there's no
regional that's
kickers at
labeled
this
as a
point.
regional. Yeah.
Exactly. So anything labeled as a regional will guarantee that prizing. So right, so kind of this is the thing, kind of why more people will be going to
Hmm.
Perth, for example. Perth, which had 89 competitors last year, now still has the same pricing. But again, it had that similar pricing. It was based off the kickers instead. But now, the winner of Perth regionals will win just as much as Pittsburgh regionals, which is now at a cap of 1,850
Like
players.
1,800 masters. Yeah,
Inc-
crazy.
including none other than Tord Reklov.
Yeah.
He got in the on this third wave, whatever you want to call this wave. And that'll be interesting. It's gonna be a lot of people, but we'll be there competing our hearts out and hope to catch you there.
Hmm.
Yeah, so tomorrow, next time you guys hear this podcast, we'll have had a challenge at Nakama and I will have won it. So what about you guys? How you guys would have done?
I went to O2 drop. I played Lugia. I flipped the wrong coin on capturing aroma. I started with Snorlax Pass. Any no, I don't know. I'm not playing Lugia for a challenge. You have to.
Well, Parker, good news is that even when you're going O2 drop, Nakama Anime Bar and Cafe, plenty of fantastic things to do there. I saw you singing your heart out in karaoke in Japan.
I did.
You can do the same thing here, same private rooms, but also you can just hop on the
Exactly.
stage and share with everyone else, right?
Yep.
Sing your O2 drop sad song,
Mhm.
or go get a tasty bite at the cafe next door, or enjoy
Mhm.
some premium drinks to celebrate Eric's win. He's not going to win, of course, because I'm actually winning.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We reached the final round. We ID'd, and
Mm.
I won based off resistance.
All
So,
resistance. It's
Okay.
always those
Oh,
darn
yeah.
opponents, man.
Mhm.
Every time.
but thanks again to Nakama Anime Cafe for continuing to sponsor the podcast and support us on our journey to become Pokemon Masters.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, thanks to Nakama again. Appreciate that support. And so next we're gonna transition to some Pokemon 151 discussion. Had a really good long conversation. It was supposed to be a short conversation, turned to a very long conversation with Hayden Burge. He's a local here. He's one of our guys at our locals that you don't know what he's gonna flip over every week. You get paired against him at locals. He could flip over Vespiquen EX and it'd be like a good deck.
Sometimes he just flips you over.
he just finds a way to make really interesting spicy deck list. And so I'm gonna take a moment and transition to him and listen to his interview with me and him on Pokemon 151. Okay, guys, we're here joined by Hayden Burge. Hayden, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Eric?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to have you on. You're one of our local players in the community that always brings the spice. Every week when I play you at locals, you turn over a card. I'm like, oh God, what do you bring this week? And you always kind of lead us. Like you have these cool spreadsheets you like to do and talk about new sets before they even come up. So I thought today was a perfect opportunity to jump in and interview with you and talk about Pokemon 151. Very high collectible set, but also has a very big impact to our metagame. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts today. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, yeah. I love looking at sets that are coming out, like theory crafting on things that could go up against popular decks now. Very much into trying to predict what will be popular and bring decks to locals to places where you might not expect to meet a difficult matchup like that. So
Right.
that's sort of my philosophy behind how I pick the deck selections that I do.
Yeah.
And 151 is going to have a lot of cool stuff to come out for all different decks, new ones and ones that we're seeing a lot now, actually.
Interesting. He's foreshadowing some cards he's going to talk about. I like that. I like that. Yes. So I got some rapid fire questions for you, just so the audience get to know you a little bit before we jump into the actual meat and potatoes. So, are you ready?
Absolutely.
There's just 4 questions, so this will be pretty quick. What's your favorite Pokemon?
Aggron, 100%.
Aggron. Have you played Aggron VMAX?
I did play that Aggron deck a little bit.
Nice.
Of course, that was popular before I jumped into locals, but yeah, I definitely tried online with that deck and had a lot of fun with it. Excited that someone got some use out of it.
Nice, nice. When did you start playing Pokemon trading card game?
I started playing the Pokemon trading card game online actually during my late high school and college years. That's when I started getting into the more competitive side of the game, getting a feel for what's good, what's been good, looking back at all the different eras. And I kept playing it for a while up until I graduated. And I started picking up the IRL game after I moved to a new city just to meet people who have the shared interest and make new friends. And I think I found a good set of them over here at our locals.
Yeah, I think so. We got a good group.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite Pokemon related memory?
Ooh, I remember playing Pokemon Ruby. We were doing battles in a tent in my backyard back in my my old house when I was a kid. Some of my best friends had like a little backyard camping trip over a weekend, and it was just a really great time.
Absolutely.
Friends like in the younger years.
Mom's making you all the good food and stuff, and you're like, yes, this is perfect.
One of the sad notes of that is that I think I corrupted my Pokemon Ruby game that same weekend, but I mean, that gave me
No.
excuse to upgrade to Emerald shortly after that, so
Yeah.
wasn't all too bad.
Yeah, that's fair. What deck did you play to locals last week?
Ooh, last week, I decided to play Lost Zone Giratina. I
Hmm.
went for something that was a bit more popular that I think has a really nice skill expression. Um, just the way to gauge my skill level helped me have to think about different matchups. Because playing those very popular decks and having very like high school games actually does help you get a feel for why some of them are good, what to look out for. So that's what I decided to play after a lot of practice, both
So,
online and outside of the.
so we were playing, Obsidian Flames to test it out a little bit early. Did
Mhm.
you play any techs, any cool techs, or just play a standard straight Giratina deck?
Um, it was pretty standard. I decided to go with Roxanne over Ionos though.
Agreed.
I know that Iona was played over Roxanne in some of the top Worlds decks. Uh, I just like having the multiple Roxanne instead, especially against mirror matches, matches against other Lost Zone decks, because I definitely struggle the most with those. Those
Yeah.
have like the highest level skill expression associated with them, and I find that being able to hit them with a Roxanne to get a big hand while they get a small hand at the same time just puts me at such a
Yeah.
better advantage there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ioning yourself to like 2 and ioning them to 2, like what are you doing? Like,
It doesn't feel good.
it doesn't feel good. The Roxanne feels so much better. I agree with you. All
Mhm.
right, well, thanks for those rapid fire questions. That was fun.
Yeah.
Next, right now, guys, it's fantasy football time. We got NFL coming back in a couple of weeks. We got a new set coming out, so we're gonna do a draft style. So, Pokemon 151, we're gonna draft impactful cards. Each of us gets 3 picks each. You're my guest, so I'll let you go first. So you draft your card and explain kind of why you drafted it number 1.
All right. One of the cards that I would draft is Blastoise EX for sure.
Ooh, okay,
Um,
okay.
Blastoise already going into a very strong type. Water has a lot of things to bring people into it. Palkia V-Star for extra energy acceleration. You got the new Qian Pao that could search out your water energies to hands that Blastoise can use for its attack. Since it needs to discard water energies from the hand to actually do its 280 damage cap.
Mhm.
Um, and Baxcalibur, of course, that can accelerate that water energy from your hands wherever you'd like. And not to mention, it has a massive 330 HP
Plus
with
30%, 30, right?
with with the ability to reduce damage by 30,
Yeah.
which means that it's going to be real hard for anybody who's still playing Charizard to take a big one-hit knockout on Blastoise,
Yeah.
unless they themselves are playing Path, which I mean, Path is sort of counterintuitive to Charizard's
Charizard. Yeah.
strategy. We see a lot of Path shutting down Charizards right now. It's
Right.
its Achilles heel, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I think that it means it has a uh, really good matchup into Charizard, especially hitting that 280, which could also knock out both Pidgeot and Arceus V-Star.
Do you think that's just slapped into like Chen Pao backs and they cut Arceus and Pidgeot completely and that's their like new thing? I mean, how do you see that working in a deck?
I think it might have to be built on its own a little bit. I think if you're going to have a big stage 2 like that, that requires a good bit of setup that you'll need to change around the deck significantly because of that. But
Mhm.
we already see that Charizard is good with cards like Pidgeot and Arceus V-Star. I can only imagine that having something similar where you can use Pidgeot and or Arceus V-Star and Chen Pao to search out those energies could
Yeah.
make for a really nice deck construction.
What's the Squirtle's HP? Is it 60 or 70?
That's a good question. It's 60. It's the one
Ah,
from 151, which is a bit
brutal.
unfortunate, but
But we still have the Pogo Squirtle, right? I wonder what that one is.
mhm.
That one could be 70 potentially. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that's a surprise number 1 pick. I'm surprised you picked that one. Obviously, it's a little bit off radar, but it's still really good. I agree that, 360 is going to be tough. And if you're taking 30 less every turn, it really can become like 390, 420 HP, depending on how many times it gets hit, right?
Yeah, that tankiness I think is being slept on a little bit.
Yeah, you can
for
just play
sure.
Cheryl, right? And Cheryl and then back Excalibur it on.
Before
pretty-
rotation happens,
Yeah,
which we'll
yeah.
get into later.
Well, you didn't take it, so I'm going to take it. It's a slam dunk #1 pick. It's one of our podcast members' favorite Pokemon. I'm choosing Mew EX. That card
Oh,
just literally goes in every single deck. It is too good. It has free retreat. It costs 3 colorless to attack, and you're using the opponent's active Pokemon's attack. So you can copy Giraton's V-Star, you can copy Charizard's attack, and you still use the same effect. So if you're behind, you're using that effect for like a big one-hit knockout,
Yeah, a lot
so
of useful attacks that
it's just crazy.
exist
Just
right now.
slap that thing in Lugia, and Lugia is just like killing everything. It's disgusting. So that one was a slam dunk #1 pick for me. So I'm glad to get that one at #2. Surprised you didn't take it #1.
Ooh, yeah, I was thinking about that, especially with its good other attributes. It's got free retreat, which can enable stuff that you're
Yeah.
doing on the bench. Of course, its ability to draw to 3 cards in your hand could be useful in a pinch.
True. I didn't even think about. I didn't
Prevents
say that.
prevents you from being like Iono to 1, and then it provides a little bit of buffer just in case you need it.
Yeah.
And as long as you have that ability, that could be very, very powerful.
Yeah, Lugia's been missing that free retreater. Lugia wants a free retreater, and now it has it, and that's just so strong.
Yes, and especially in a deck that can accelerate really quickly, 3 energies onto that Mew, just in case it needs to panic use the genome hack attack.
Yeah.
I think that is a guaranteed slot into a Lugia V-Star deck right now.
Completely agree. All right, you're up next. Who are you drafting #3?
I think that there is an argument for Zapdos EX to be a pretty good card.
Wasn't even on my
Especially
list.
and Miraidon. Miraidon is a deck that is, well, while it's not doing amazingly, it still is showing up to pretty decent results at different tournaments. It's very consistent. It has the opportunity to attack turn 1 and knock something out, like a V or a basic EX of some kind. And being able to have a free retreat option in that deck that also provides utility could be really beneficial, especially since Electric Generator attaches energies to the bench.
Yeah.
So Zapdos EX having that ability where if you have a lightning energy on it, it gets free retreat, I think fits like a glove. And it also provides a utility that Miraidon EX doesn't currently have, and that is potential bench snipe. Its attack does 120 damage to an active and 90 damage to any of your opponent's bench Pokemon with damage counters on it.
Okay.
Now, having damage counters on it isn't going to get you to, knock out a fresh basic or something. But what it could do is it could help you finish off a Pokemon that was already damaged by a Miraidon, for example, or a Raikou V.
Yeah.
And so you threaten that ability to, if they don't play a Manaphy at all, take a surprise knockout on something that was on the bench, and also set up their next Pokemon with 120 damage for a follow-up KO with another Miraidon, especially those stage 2 EXs that have those big 330 HP caps, because 120 plus 210, of course, is going to be
pretty good.
330. Yes.
Pretty good. What's the HP on that Zapdos?
200.
Okay.
It's a little bit low, but things like Charizard at the beginning of the game, Arceus V-Star without any sort of damage modifiers to it, it's still not hitting 200. So even if you start with it, it might not be the end of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think having the option of having that free retreat there, as well as threatening a finishing KO, is really good, and something that Miraidon never had before.
Yeah, the snipe is really good. I mean, Miraidon used to have Magnezone V, and I really want to keep putting that back in the deck. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, I really want Magnezone. But Super Rod Nest Ball is just so stupidly good to bring back Manaphy that I it's very tough to include that. However, having that option just with one card instead of having it with two cards and having to evolve and get energy on it is definitely better than, like the Zapdos seems better. So
Yeah.
that's one I didn't even have on my list. It wasn't even on my radar of picks today. So and you're surprising me today, Sir Hayden, but that's what you do every week, and that's why you're here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a box of surprises, Eric.
All right, again, number 4, I guess, because you didn't take it, it's a slam dunk. The Charizard EX is just stupid, right?
Yep.
It's another Charizard card for Charizard to play in its deck. It's 330 HP. It's a stage 2, so it still has to evolve just like a regular Charizard. But for 1 energy, it hits 160. And then for 4 energy, it has detonating vortex, and it says discard 3 energy from this Pokemon and deal 338 damage. So, like in the mirror match, that's so good. Like just to close out the game, or even early, take those early 2 prizes. Now it does have 2 retreat, so you'll need to play more switch cards because you're discarding 3
Mhm.
energy from it feels pretty bad. But I mean, next turn you just evolve another Charizard, and you're like, okay, yep, I'm doing it again.
Yeah, one of the
So-
few Pokemon that could just straight up one hit KO opposing stage 2 EXs. No
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
Even if you don't want to retreat that Charizard and you end up taking a hit of some kind, that enables it to use its first attack for that
For
1
160,
energy for a full 160, which could potentially 2-hit KO most
Right.
everything,
Right.
aside from some of the other stage 2 EXs like you mentioned. But being itself a stage 2 EX with that big damage cap, if not getting 2-hit KO'd first, then
Mhm.
that is a very, very big threat that they'll have to deal with somehow.
I mean,
Um,
like, it's pretty interesting that, like, if there's a Squawkabilly on the bench, you just go boss KO for 1 energy.
That too, yeah. 160 is a great number to hit.
Yeah,
You
it's a
still
good
have
number.
Vitality Band too, so 170 hits Luminion V.
Luminion, yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that-
Charizard has to start including something, whether it be Defiance Band, Vitality Band, Choice Belt. It needs something. Because those early
Mhm.
numbers aren't really that good.
Yeah, my list had played a Vitality Band to
Yeah.
help outs with like a very early KO against like basic EXs or something. But I'm kind of liking the Vitality Band right now because
Me
that
too,
can do
me
a
too.
similar job, but hitting everything.
Yep,
You know?
me too. All right, what is your number 5 draft pick, sir?
My number 5 draft pick, and I've seen some talk about this card. I think Arbok EX has a potential to be a very threatening attacker.
Yeah.
So Arbok EX being a dark type, it's a stage 1 EX. I think it has like 280 HP, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
And for 3 darkness energy, it has an attack that can rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, while at the same time doing a good amount of damage.
It's like 140,
uh,
right?
I think so. I have to double check on that. But it has the potential to 150 damage.
150.
So it can 2-hit KO other like stage 1 EXs, some V stars. But that discarding 2 cards from your opponent's hand in a format where Judge Path exists, where Judge
Path,
Iono
Get rid of
exists.
2, yeah.
Yeah, you immediately like you could potentially have your opponent's ability to knock out a path and come back with some sort of supporter card. Depending on how late in the game you can Iono them, you could just rip out all the remaining cards in their hand, which is wild. And really deprive them of some resources that they might need later on. And darkness type, great
Dark Patch.
attack. Yeah, Dark Patch works well with Dark by V-Star. We have a lot of good support right now. And Darkness is a great weakness to hit for. I mean, you still have Mew VMAX running around as the champion of
Yep,
Worlds.
of the world.
Just happened,
Yeah.
and Gardevoir EX is still a threat right now, with its ability to just output so much energy to good attackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to hit for a Darkness weakness at the moment. Charizard can testify to that. And yeah, overall, I'm very excited for that one. I think I'm going to try that at some point, for that potential alone.
Mhm.
So yeah, Arbok EX.
Yeah.
third
I,
pick.
I definitely had it on my list. It was one of my 7 that I brought with me to draft today. Who chooses the 2 cards? Is it the opponent or do you choose?
It's random, I believe.
It's random.
So
Okay.
yeah, so they just present you your hand, and then you just pick this one on the back.
You're like,
So
no.
that's gonna either cause some cheers or some very salty pop-offs from your
Yeah,
opponent.
exactly. All right, well, good pick. I think that's a good pick. I've got 3 left on my board. Which one to choose is tough. Um, I'm gonna choose a cheesy one. I don't have a lot of information here because it's like kind of towards my bottom of my list, but I'm gonna choose Chansey. So
Chansey.
Chansey has that ability where if you take it off the prizes, you flip a coin, and if heads, well, so it has to go to your bench. You have to have a bench spot.
Mhm.
So it goes to your bench, and you flip a coin, and if heads, you just take an extra prize. That's so
Interesting.
stupid. Like,
Yeah.
so that seems pretty cool and fun. Yeah. Is it consistent? By no means is it consistent. But if you're looking for a fun deck to play to your locals, bringing some spice like Hayden does, I think a deck with a couple of chances in it would be a lot of fun. Like you just
It
play
reminds-
like Peonia, put it where you want it, and then grab it.
With Peonia, yeah, you can guarantee potential. Well, you can guarantee you can find Chansey there. Of course, you
Yeah.
still have to flip a coin, but it reminds me of like Greedy Dice. If you
Yeah,
remember that from the
exactly. Yeah.
XY era, it's like Greedy Dice on a Pokemon, so it's searchable. If you're
Yep.
playing a deck with
Double
Peonia
ball.
anyway,
Yep.
might as well just like keep a one of in there so that you could potentially steal like a game for taking 3
It seems
prizes
very
instead of 2,
interesting.
or
Yeah, it
instead
seems
of
very
3.
interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I have no
that's
idea what its
I like
attack
that
does,
thing.
just the ability sounds a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna be using it to attack. I'd be surprised if it came down to that. But taking an extra prize is always a good
Always
effect
good.
to have.
Yeah. All right, so what's your top free agent available? Not really a draft pick, but you got free agents on the board now. What's your top free agent left in the set?
My top free agent. I'm looking towards the future with this one. And
Don't do it.
basing it on something from the past, but I think Dodrio can be a very,
Ooh,
very good
yeah.
Pokemon. Very reminiscent of the Unbroken Bond Spiritomb,
Yep.
the Anguish Cry one, where it's a stage 1, granted not a basic, and its ability lets you put a damage counter on it during your turn, but you get to draw a card in addition to that. Which is great for consistency, especially for decks that use rare candy in stage 2s that might
Mhm.
just need that extra card to find that the rare candy that they were looking for. And if you have multiple of these Dodrio set up on the bench, that's even more potential to build up a bigger hand.
Right.
When building up a bigger hand is becoming more important. And threatening that attack that does 10 damage plus 30 for each damage counter on it. If your opponent lets that build up over time, you're starting to let it get to the territory where for any energy card, it can potentially take out a basic EX of some kind, a 2 prize KO.
Yeah.
And so your opponent needs to start picking up their pace a little bit if they don't want the potential for this 1 prize Pokemon to just take a surprise knockout and then have to fish for a boss of some kind to
Mhm.
take the game. To fish for like something that can meet that 1 prize trade-off.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a ticking time bomb almost if you let it go unchecked. And
Right.
for that reason, I think it's very fun. Now, Sableye exists, I know.
Of course.
Yeah, it's gonna be its biggest hater,
You just
but
play Toad Scroll, it's fine. Just attach your grass
uh-huh.
energy to it.
If you're playing it in a grass deck, surely, Meowscarada could love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking towards the future, having something like putting it in Tyranitar EX that could use both its ability to put a damage counter on itself and the extra consistency could
True.
make Tyranitar like a lot more threatening than it currently is.
That's fair. Yeah, good point. I like that pick a lot. I think my top free agent, I got a lot of good ones here. But I'm really interested to see how Alakazam works.
Ah, yes.
Man, attacking from the bench seems so cool. Like there's some really cool control decks I'm sure you can whip up. Like
Yeah.
keeping some Mimikyus in the active, keeping the anti-boss thing in the active. I'm blanking on the name now, but I don't know its
Diancie.
attack. Yeah, Diancie. It's not like a crazy attack, but I've done a lot of research on the card, but attacking from the bench seems very, very interesting. And we all know that TCG Live is going to mess that one up. It's going to be banned like day
Aw.
one. Like, there's no way they get that one right.
There's gonna be a lot of weirdness going on with that
Yeah.
attack
Yeah.
for sure. At least in IRL play, it's going to enable a lot of combos with all of the when it's in the active abilities that we see. Like you said, Diancie, we got Klefki to shut down basics, we got Mimikyu to
Yeah.
block out any EXs and Vs, and we even have Snorlax from Pokemon Go. So
Oh,
you can
true,
trap something in the
true.
active to even though it's not that much damage, doing 130. You can force a Pokemon that doesn't want to be there that is difficult to attack with, and
Yeah.
just have it be a sitting duck to get knocked out. So any ability that happens in the active, we'll have to look at for the future as a partner to Alakazam EX.
Yeah.
Yes, something like this has never been done before. I believe this is a completely unique
Yeah.
way to attack.
I've never
and,
seen it for sure.
So players are going to need to adjust and see what kind of strategies exist from no precedent.
Right.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is very interesting to kind of see how this is going to work. But I'm excited for the potentials that can happen. All right, so we got like 5 to 10 minutes left here. Just want to wrap up, and I got a couple interview questions for you, interview style questions, just to kind of get your opinions on the next set and kind of how it impacts our meta. So the first question is, what's the most underrated deck that's on your radar for next set?
I think that I don't know if enough people are looking at Arbok. I think Arbok has a lot more potential than some people may realize. Like I said, that card ripping effect. A lot of decks right now want to keep a lot of their cards in their hand, very valuable cards. Like right now we have a lot of stage 2s. You want to keep as many rare candies as possible. Lost Zone decks are already very selective of their resources, and so having an element where whatever resources that you try to keep out of the Lost Zone could all of a sudden be ripped away from you.
Discarded,
And so
yeah.
that decision all of a sudden didn't really matter. And now you have to dig even more or find like some sort of recovery for a play that you were theorizing about that no longer is viable. It's going to force people to have to like build up bigger hands in order to have a better chance of keeping the resources that they really need in their
Right.
following turns. And it's going to it's going to make people think a little bit harder about what they keep in their deck versus discarding, especially since Iono exists, and Iono benefits players who can thin their resources usually in smart ways. But
Mhm.
if they're against Arbok, then it's not going to be so simple.
It's not gonna
Because
be
now
so
all
simple,
the
yeah.
resource, you might want to keep those resources that are able to be thrown away for Arbok to do instead of you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think
that's
Arbok's
why
interesting.
I think that's why it's underrated.
It's gonna do really well in the Lost Box, that's for sure. And just judge,
Mhm.
get rid of 2 cards, and like they're just in trouble.
Yeah, a lot of players right now are gunning for Lost Box and Lost Zone decks. They're really tired of them at this point, and so
Yeah.
playing something like this to grief them,
Stabilize been a menace,
they're
that's
gonna
for
enjoy
sure.
that. The gremlin.
All right, so the next question here is how is 151 going to impact how's the set going to impact the meta when rotation happens? So we got cards
Hmm.
like Path to the Peak rotating, Battle VIP Pass, Mew VMAX, Rapid Strike, Single Strike, Dragonite V and Raikou V, for Lost Box. So how's the set going to impact, when rotation happens? Like what are you going to see that wins from this set?
Any Pokemon that's a rule box currently with an ability is absolutely going to win. If Path to the Peak or something similar does not come back into the format. Some of the ones that I mentioned already, like Zapdos EX, Blastoise EX, Pokemon with abilities that can really help it. If all of a sudden your opponent can't turn them off, and Zapdos has free retreat for the rest of the game, and Blastoise has that extra 30 HP threshold that you need to get over because of its resistance. I think that you're going to have to take them a lot more seriously. And we haven't mentioned this card yet, but Wigglytuff
Wigglytuff.
EX.
That was on my brain right now. I have it on my
Uh-huh.
paper. Yep.
That ability to give it an extra 100 HP, boosting it to 350 as a stage 1,
Yeah.
as long as you have a special energy attached to it. If you're not able to turn that off easily, that is going to be a menace.
Yeah, I think so
It's going
too.
to be having that threshold while being less needing of resources than a regular stage 2 deck. It's going to definitely prove difficult to KO, plus a rigid band to get its damage reduction up. People are going to hate this card.
Yeah, they've got the ability to like play that single prize Wigglytuff that just accelerates the special energy to it, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty interesting.
the small Wigglytuff helps out the big Wigglytuff.
Yeah.
So that's a deck that I think isn't going to be great as long as Path to the Peak exists, but once that rotates, it'll be better. One other thing, a card that we haven't mentioned yet that I think will be very important with rotation is the new Pidgey.
Pidgey?
Yes, the new Pidgey here. It has a call for family attack that searches your deck for 2 basics for 1 energy, any energy, and puts them onto the bench. With the rotation of Battle VIP Pass, I think we're going to see a big hit to consistency. And in conjunction with Path to the Peak leaving, Pidgeot might be an unstoppable force once it gets out onto the field. And I think players might be more apt to use Pidgeot EX in their
because
decks
of the
all
call
over.
for family.
And the addition to the call for family on Pidgey means that it could doubly be a good consistency boost early game when you have that turn 1 attack to get the basics that you need to set up. Battle VIP Pass is a really, really good card. It makes or breaks some decks. Like Lost Box is made by Battle VIP Pass for the most part. A lot of decks like Charizard, even Charizard right now uses Battle VIP Pass to get those basics down early. It's so important to get those basics set up that having something that can do that while also being kind of like a platform for Pidgeot EX to start setting you up for later in the game. I think that Pidgey is going to be everywhere, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good card to look out for. Thanks for all those insights there. I really appreciate it. We got like 2 minutes left here. So the last question I have for you is what deck are you sleeving up first from Pokemon 151?
So this decision is entirely based on bias. Alakazam EX.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Its unique ability to attack from the bench is just too unique to not try right away.
Yeah.
And the first time that Kadabra has been reprinted in the Pokemon TCG for 20 years.
20 years.
I think that's something worth celebrating. So whatever Alakazam EX deck I'm cooking up will need at least 1 copy of that Kadabra in there.
Heck
it's like
yeah.
Thank you to Uri Geller, by the way. Really respectful that you
allowing it to happen.
Allow it to happen again. This we love you. It was never we never thought badly of you because of Kadabra. Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, this has been a blessing for a lot of Pokemon fans.
It's a big day for everyone, that's for sure. Well, Hayden, thank you so much for joining. This was some great content and really some good insight to Pokemon 151. We got 3 weeks, maybe 4. I think it comes out September 22nd. And then 2 weeks after that as legal. So let's start getting ready now. Hayden, we're going to see you next. You're going to any regionals, and where can people find you on socials?
My one place that you could really get in contact with me, place that I'm active is Twitter. Now X. My @ is @utopdeck. Like letter U top deck. My screen name is Great Escape Rope, same as my gamer tag on PTCG Live. So you could find me there if you want to send me messages, just share some interesting Pokemon related stuff with me. I'd love to talk to anybody who's interested there.
Okay. And going on any regionals? Going to Orlando?
Not currently, but I was seeing the new competitive information that came out, and I see New Orleans is not that far from here in terms of distance.
It's an
So
hour drive, right?
uh,
Not that bad.
yeah, and early next year or mid next year, like I could be eyeing that right now. It'd be a fun experience, my first regionals experience. So
Dude, do it.
uh,
Regionals are the
yeah,
best. We'd love to have you there. Come join
I'll
us.
do it.
Hayden, thanks for joining. This was a blast, man. We'll really, we'll talk to you in the future. When the next set comes out, Paradox Rift after that.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Eric.
Yep.
Appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. Have a good day, Hayden. Thank you. All right, welcome back. Huge thanks to Hayden Burridge for that interview. I really got some fun, interesting, my favorite word, insight from him about Pokemon 151. What'd you guys think about that interview?
I thought it was great. I liked the little he adopted the draft style that we did on the last podcast with the cards in the set. Really like that actually.
It's fantasy football time, man. We gotta
It
do
is.
drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, we did one at Nakamine Cafe. That was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a good team this year.
I just liked how
Yeah.
Mew was the #1 overall draft pick, as it rightfully should be.
No, I drafted it number 2. Sorry.
Well, we knew it was first off the board. Anyways, it was best
Anyways.
available.
I was like shocked when he didn't draft it. I was like, this is a no-brainer slam dunk. Like, that
He's
was-
got the stats on you.
yeah,
Trust the process.
yeah. He's got the stats. He's got the spice. He knows the things that we don't know. But any interesting cards that you have on your radar that we didn't discuss on that interview?
So me personally, I think you said it in the interview. There's a lot of potential for control
Mhm.
in this set. There's a lot of like really sneaky cards that I think in some, has some coercion and it could be very, very strong actually in like a control aspect. But like I thought like the Persian with Giovanni's charisma, you get to search it every turn. It's an energy disruption and accelerates for you. I mean, in Pokemon theory, that's really good. But
Mhm.
Very good. Yeah.
we'll have to see how it plays in actual practice and stuff.
Yeah, stage 1. That's not very difficult to set up either.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Max,
Yeah,
what about you?
Another stage 1 on my radar, that I think is cool, especially with how the meta looks right now, is something like the Aerodactyl, right? To have the devolution ability. You're able to go boss up a Gardevoir EX, for example, and devolve it into a Kirlia, which now with a double turbo, it's taken 80 damage. Well, now you're KOing the Kirlia. So you're able to just go and, completely remove a large Pokemon from play. Another couple of other cards that do that. The Bye Bye Butterfree. I forget the exact name of the Bye Bye. You can just go pick any of your opponent's bench Pokemon and just shuffle it in the deck.
As an
And
attack?
it's just gone. It's
As an
as an
attack,
attack.
yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting,
So
yeah.
they go Archeops on the bench, you say, see ya. Right?
That's
like,
actually very good. Yeah.
like and any of those, pesky cards that could be right there. Oh, your Alakazam EX is swinging from the bench and causing mayhem. Says nope, you're in the deck now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
again, I think the Butterfree, for example, won't see too much significant play. But I think the Aerodactyl is very interesting, especially with how the meta looks now as we're going to these larger stage 2 decks, and a lot of them are opting for that rare candy. If you're able to go turn 2, evolve into Aerodactyl, and devolve, their Blastoise EX into a Squirtle, their Charizard EX into a Charmander, like you're removing a threat from the game
Yeah.
and just very quickly devolving it, taking an easy prize.
Yeah, that sounds very like strange. Like there's just so many like cool combos that can come out of this set. One card we didn't even talk about that I had on my radar was the Ditto, where like on your first turn, you can just like discard it and go get a Comfy from your deck and put the Comfy on the bench or any other basic. It kind of turns your deck into having like 8 basics. Like think about Lugia. Maybe Lugia wants to play a couple Dittos. Maybe Arceus wants to play a couple of
Arceus.
Dittos, right? Yeah, Arceus just like get the Arceus out of the deck, right? So there's a lot of very interesting cards, and I'm excited to see what we can do with the set. And so we'll transition now to our youngster versus gym leader, our favorite segment here on the podcast. And if you have been catching on to kind of trends, usually my questions and trivia questions are very close to our episode topics that we're on. So today we're throwing it all the way back to Pokemon Red and Blue, and we're going to test some of your knowledge from the video game and see what you know.
Easy.
Maddox has a 4-2 lead. Took the lead last week, got 2 points. Parker got nothing. So Parker, hopefully you got some good knowledge here and you can lock in your answer ahead of time and get some good stuff going.
Yeah, Parker went for the big play, if I recall.
I did.
Yeah, he
I
did.
forgot about two of the more playable ones actually.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll run into this, and my question for you guys is: in Cerulean City, there is a man that offers to trade for your Poliwhirl. If you complete the trade, what Pokemon do you get in return?
God, I think I know this, but I'm probably just wrong again.
I kind of remember this. I like know of it. It's like, oh, you trade the Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl wasn't like super easy to get at that point of the game.
Hmm.
But it's gonna be one of those. I just can't remember which one it is. So
Would either of you like to lock in an answer, or do you want your first hint?
I'll take a hint, I think.
yeah, I'll also take the hint.
But I'm gonna regret it, I feel like.
It is a Psychic type Pokemon.
Yep.
Oh wait, is it that? Oh wait, I think it is. Wait, no, it's not. Is it? I think you catch that. We put in the everyone chat.
Oh,
So I know your answer's
whoopsies.
wrong.
True.
I will not comment whether it's right or wrong. Maddox, would you like the
I'm
second
pretty-
hit, or do you have an answer?
No, I'm gonna lock it in, and I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident in this one.
Oh,
confident.
Maddox is confident. All right, we got two lock-ins. Parker locked in Kadabra, and Maddox locked in Mr. Mime. Both of you are incorrect.
Okay. Well, we'll
Dang.
play along for the kids at home. What are the other hints?
Yeah, so what we'll do just like last episode. We'll give you one opportunity for each of you to get 1 point. And I'll give you the second hint. The second hint is its first attack is called Double Slap Attack.
Oh, it must.
Make sure you notify this one to just me, Parker, when you.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Double slap.
Wait, no, you don't trade for that early though.
I'm gonna need you guys to lock in an answer here.
Double slap.
Double Slap Attack.
I'm definitely throwing on this one.
One of you got it right. One of you did not.
Oh,
Maddox got it right. He chose Jinx. Jinx was the correct answer.
Yeah.
Parker chose Hypno. Maddox takes a bigger lead at 5-3 points. Should I give the bonus question to the gym leader here?
Yeah.
maybe I might need
You
it.
need
All right. Maddox said yes, he agrees. All right, we'll throw it up to him to say. Okay, so bonus question is still from the same game, red and blue.
Sure.
How many trainers do you have to beat in the Pewter City gym before you face Brock?
Do I type it or say it?
You can say it, it's fine.
Pretty sure it's just 3.
Is that your final
even-
answer?
Hold on. God.
I request a jargon question.
Go for it.
So is the question how many are in the gym or how many do you have to beat?
How many do you have to beat?
Well, I'm thinking that case it's just 2, but I think there's 3 in the gym. I'll say 2.
That is incorrect. The answer is 1.
Really?
You have to face 1, and it is a junior trainer who has a Diglett and a Sandshrew on his team. Tisk, you guys.
Tisk.
I'm kidding. I couldn't have answered any of these questions if I didn't look them up myself. So
Wow, I can't believe the trading game players got the video game questions wrong. Unbelievable.
well, Parker's over here playing video game all the time, so I expected him to do well in this segment, which is why I gave these answers and these questions, because I was like, he needs some time to get some points back. But somehow
Yeah.
Maddox has took the further lead, 5-3 or 5-2, excuse me.
After
So
2, yeah.
wow. We'll have to see what happens next week on the next episode of the Beach Court podcast. Everyone, thank you for joining today. This is a great episode. And hopefully, but next time you hear this, you are safe from the hurricane. We are about to, as you see, the rough seas behind me. We
Ooh.
got some, I don't even know how to say the name. What's the name? Anybody know it?
Oh,
Hurricane.
it like,
like
begins
Irida or
with the-
something.
Yeah, it's something like Irida.
It's like close to Irida. Elida or Irida.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
The
how to s-
Adalia.
Idalia, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Hurricane Idalia is about to hit us, and we got 2 league challenges. So hopefully next time you hear us, one of us will have won Pittsburgh as well.
Sure.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed you have one of the top 4s here. So well, thank you guys for joining for this episode of the Beach Square podcast. And until next time, we'll catch you then.
See you later.